Protests over the police killing of Daunte Wright have stretched into a sixth night in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. And now there are also protests tonight in Chicago, echoing the laments of those on the streets of Minnesota about a life taken too soon. This time, it was a police shooting that happened last month involving 13-year-old Adam Toledo. Body cam video of his killing was released yesterday, hence the protests now. In the video, he appears to comply with the officer who is yelling at him after chasing him down an alley to drop his guns, show his hands. And as he does that, the officer shoots him. The question now is, was the officer justified in believing the suspect may still have the weapon in that split-second decision? If nothing else, this country is finally united. We have all had it. There's just too much pain, too much hurt. We are all frustrated. We are all exhausted by the same. From fears of the vaccine, to fears, to the victims of police shootings, mass refusal to mask up, all the BS politics, pandering to the weakest among us. The tunnel just gets longer. We're at the point where even the sharpest eyes can barely see a glint of light in the darkness. Forget about whoever you think is them for just a moment. Take the time to consider if there is anything resembling an us anymore. Does anyone see America the way you want her to be? Do any of you see a people with a purpose that resembles anything like the dream? You got to ask yourself that. Because otherwise, what the hell is it all about? What are we doing here? Why are you watching? Why are you doing anything? Why watch anything? Why care about anything? What is your why? What matters? The FedEx tragedy, sure, I could take you all through it tonight. It's the 45th mass shooting in this country in a month. Will change your opinion? Will make you feel a need for something? Yes, if you're one of the family members or loved ones of the 8 people who died, or people who died in the other 45 mass shootings, the number will never be enough. The number of dead will never be enough. This time, this gunman killed 8, injured at least 7 more, took his own life. His mother warned the feds about him last year. They took it seriously. They heard her say he might try to commit suicide by cop. What more of a red flag do you need? They took a shotgun of his, but they couldn't find a criminal violation. You don't punish thought, not yet. The laws and the system are not set up to help someone like this, and you know that is the exact person that we need to help before they hurt. And you know that the system doesn't do it because the system worked, but it didn't, because it's not enough. This comes on the heel of a mass shooting at a cabinet-making company in Texas, a supermarket in Boulder, a spa shooting in Atlanta. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter who you are. These happen everywhere, all the time. And you know that access to guns by the wrong people has a role. And no, I cannot tell you the law that would have stopped this shooting. But I can tell you this. President after president has been forced to address the bloodshed, Republican, Democrat, whatever they are these days. They've all recognized the need to do more than just pray.
The majority of those who died today were children. And we're going to have to come together and take meaningful action to prevent more tragedies like this.
No child, no teacher should ever be in danger in an American school. It is not enough to simply take actions that make us feel like we are making a difference. We must actually make that difference.
The Congress has to step up and act. The Senate has to act. It's a national embarrassment and must come to an end. Who in God's name needs a weapon that can hold 100 rounds or 40 rounds or 20 rounds? It's just wrong. And I'm not going to give up till it's done.
Then he won't give up, but it won't get done. Because all you have is prayer. I'm one of those people who said prayer is not enough. It's all we have. Nothing else will get done. And I'm not some cynic. I wouldn't do this job if I were. This job is hard. It makes life suck on a lot of levels. But it matters because the good fight matters. And making ourselves safer is the good fight. Protecting the dream, expanding the dream, that is the fight. That is the country. That is our why. But we're not letting it happen. The NRA exposed as a sham, but it hasn't changed the sham that any change, any law, is going to end the liberty of the Second Amendment. Well, that's still alive and well. Even after Vegas in 2017, stood out there in that cold morning after, people crying all over me, 60 dead, so many injured that the blood flowed freely as sin on the Strip. And remember,
I think it's premature to be discussing legislative solutions, if there are any.
there's no measure on the agenda in the remaining weeks of this session of Congress. 45 shootings, dead all over the place, people crying in the streets. There's nothing that would pass anyway. We refuse to address the violence. We refuse to address the shootings and the violence as a figurative disease. This is a disease. Why would we address that? We refuse to face a real disease. We have a real pandemic stalling our civilization. We are the only civilized nation whose leaders actively try to promote not doing what the science says. Cancun cruise. He says, I'm done wearing masks in the Capitol.
At this point, I've been vaccinated. Everyone working in the Senate has been vaccinated.
He knows that's not the science. The guy went to Harvard. Not everyone in the Senate has been vaccinated, and he knows it. Staff, reporters covering him, he knows. Even his boys, fellow Senators Rand Paul and Ron Johnson. You know why they aren't vaccinated? I'm not getting it. Not telling me what to do. Close to 40% of your party now expresses hesitancy. I wonder why. Here's a hint.
You don't think Americans' liberties have been threatened the last year, Dr. Fauci? They've been assaulted. Their liberties have.
I don't look at this as a liberty thing, Congressman Jordan.
Well, that's
I look
obvious.
At this as a public health thing.
566,000 dead in this country, all from the pandemic. I don't even believe the number, by the way. I don't. I guarantee you there are people who died that were wrote off as not COVID, that it was something else. Jordan's decided he's had enough. He wants to pretend that I just want to get my liberty back, man. And everything else will be fine. Really, when that type of behavior is exactly what has us in the position. He knows it makes no sense. He's just banking on you not giving a damn. How many more die of the pandemic, dying from police shootings? George Floyd, Daunte Wright. I wonder if you'll remember their names 6 months from today, because they'll be replaced by so many others. You're here, people. What are you going to do when you see these shootings? You know what you're going to do. That George Floyd, did you hear about him? That Daunte Wright, did you hear about him? That 13-year-old Adam, you know he was a gangbanger. Why do that? Because you want to make the problem them. Takes the onus off the idea that you're wrong about policing not needing to change. Forget that police are trained to deal with non-compliance with force that is not lethal. Hey, comply or die. Yeah, I mean. And you know what the answer is? You really do. You don't like it. I don't like it. It scares me. Shootings, gun laws, access to weapons. Oh, I know when they'll change. Your kids start getting killed. White people's kids start getting killed. Smoking that doobie that's actually legal probably in your state now, but they don't know what it was, and then the kid runs and the pop, 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 pop. Cop was justified. Why'd you run? Oh, he had a baseball game tonight. Huh. A white kid. Oh, big family. That house over there. Those start piling up. What is going on with these police? Oh, what? Maybe we shouldn't even have police. That kind of mania, that kind of madness, that'll be you. That'll be the majority, because it's your people. See? Now, black people start getting all guns, forming militias, protect themselves. Can't trust deep state. Whoo-hoo! You'll see a wave of change in access and accountability. We saw it in the 60s. That's when it changes, because that's when it's you. So my job is to show you in them, because they're but for the grace. And the grace is forgiveness that none of us deserve for the blessings that we're wasting in this country. That is our reality. And the reality is clear, and the state of play is unchanging. And that is not a recipe for any type of longevity. And what do we do here? What do I do here? I get lost in the next name, the next iteration. The new in news dominates because you get bored. I've heard enough. I cared about George Floyd. It was wrong. But I've had it with the trials too long. Just let me know when they have a verdict. We pretend that we're not just seeing the same lying and lack of leading and bleeding and death and pain, new names, new faces, new places, same problems. You know it, I know it. I know that you know. The testing, the voting, the vaccines, the dying, the shooting, the drugs, the suicide, the teaching, the testing of education, all of it. It all hits the poor and the poor of color worst, and we know it. And we've always known it. I remember my father preaching about this when my teeth were 2 inches apart. When I was a fat kid waiting to eat on the steps of my house while he was talking to people that he was asking to vote for him in one of the elections that he lost, like 5, 6 in a row. Us and them, us and them. There's never a solution that doesn't begin with we. We the people, they started it. Every copy you see of the document blows those letters up. Why? Because that's all we have is the interconnectedness and the interdependence. If you give up on one another, that's it. And it doesn't matter how impressive or resonant or you feel the words to be, because all you have is prayer. All you have is hope that at some point, something makes some iteration or generation of us realize that the only solution is not less, but more. More people, more enabled to do more with talent, to make more pie for all of us. That is the only way that this country ever approaches what she is supposed to be. And the only question for us is, what will it take to get there?